short-term rentals are leading to housing shortages in cities. In reality, it's actually allowing so many people to be able to afford these properties in the first place, to be able to have some rental income coming in so they can actually afford to buy a home and get some rental income.
I am so excited to sit down with Sarah Carter today from Enclaves, which is a short-term rental and property management company. So Sarah, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited you finally came out here, and I'd love to hear what is it that you do, how'd you get in the business, and all the things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to be here too. So I have been in the short-term rental business, for 7 or 8 years now, after hotels, which we initially met.
Yes, I know.
Together at. And it really is a branch of hospitality. That's how I got into it. Our company, Enclaves, we are a property management company, but we really specialize in short-term rentals or mid-term monthly rentals. So we don't do any of the long-term traditional leases. We really, our sweet spot are those short-term rentals, also known as vacation rentals.
Yes.
Or here in Seattle, also the monthly rentals.
How do you choose a client as far as, what attributes does someone have to have in their property for you to be considering to work with them?
Sure. Well, man, anyone that owns a property could be one of our clients. Okay. So we want to talk with everyone and see what their property is, what their goals are. We definitely look for higher end properties. We want one that's going to be appealing for a vacation rental, but we can help with the design and that kind of thing. So it really, I would say the property has to be in a great location, and then we can turn it into a wonderful enclave for a guest.
That's exciting. What are the territories that you guys cover?
Sure. Yeah. So we're mostly Seattle right now, but we're growing, and we really do want to expand across Washington. Okay. So we've also partnered with some real estate partners in Tucson. So we actually also have successfully managed some properties down there. Okay. But Seattle is our home. We love it. We really do want to keep it local that way, and then branch out into the Western Washington. We're also looking over across the mountains in Araujo is a new kind of up and coming place for vacation rentals as well.
Water and mountains and everything. What would you say is a perfect short-term rental if somebody has an investment property? What does a perfect short-term rental look like?
Sure. So, it depends on the location for sure. Short-term rentals, I think, they can be for various different reasons. Some is for vacation. Some is you're coming to visit family. Sometimes a guest needs a place to stay while they are remodeling their own house or visiting a family member in the hospital. There's so many different things. So location, they can be in different places, but the perfect ideal one would be, a newer property, or if it's not new, just updated, updated kitchen and bathrooms in a walkable location. So whether that's near a park, an attraction like Woodland Park Zoo, or near the sports stadiums, or, near restaurants and coffee shops. So having that accessibility, walkability is key. And then again, having it updated or new. A lot of our most successful properties right now are the townhomes, the new build, 3-story with a rooftop deck.
Because they don't have homeowner dues.
They don't
restrict
there's no HOA restrictions.
Yes.
They look great, right? In a listing, they photograph so well. Those rooftop decks are the perfect place for a guest to have their morning coffee or evening glass of wine. So they look well, they rent well. Guests don't need a huge amount of space. So they're selling really well.
How do you manage a property? What services do you offer to people when they contact you?
Sure, yeah. So we are full service. Okay. And what that means, there's a few other property management solutions out there that are marketing only, that really just provide the listings and finding the guests, the rate optimization and bringing them in. But once the guests are there, then it's up to the owner. We can do that partial service, and actually it's a whole side topic, but it can be a really beneficial way for an investor for tax purposes if the owner has time to also put into management. Okay. But where we really help our owners are those busy investors, the ones that don't live here, that really don't have the time or ability to manage them themselves. Okay. So full service, what that means is we do all of the marketing, all of the guest management, and all of the cleaning and maintenance.
Okay.
So really, an owner can live in another country, and we take care of everything. So again, that's building the listings, rate optimization, photography. Once we have the guests, we have 24-hour guest support. We handle all that communication while they're there in-house. We stock all the supplies.
Perfect.
We schedule and arrange all the cleaners. We do all the maintenance while in-house. And
You
so
are
on.
the point of
so
contact.
on and so on. Yeah, exactly.
But let's say the house is, okay, let's say the owner, they used to live in this place. They actually moved out, I don't know, out of country, out of state. The place is vacant, completely empty. What do you tell a person? Do you help them not stage it, furnish it? Do you help them find all of the necessities for the home?
We absolutely can. You said stage, and it's actually very similar to staging for
Realtor lingo.
No,
I guess.
it's very similar to
Yeah.
staging because, again, it has to be appealing in photos because
Yes.
that's how guests book.
But it has to be
initially.
comfortable to sleep
But it
in.
absolutely has to be comfortable as well.
Yeah.
So we do. We have a design team that we can assist. Some owners want to do it themselves,
Okay.
right? But if they, again, are out of the country or whatnot, we can absolutely assist with that. We have a checklist that everything that needs to be stocked, and that starts with the furniture, but then down to the pots and pans and first aid kit and fire extinguisher and
Everything.
all those good things. Yeah.
So you said that you have a company or you have a designer that actually comes in and basically designs what has to go in?
We actually have both. We have one on staff. She works part-time and she has different packages that she could offer. So if the owner wants to just have one session to give them some ideas, but then they want to go and purchase it all,
Okay.
she can do that. Or if they want white glove, full service,
Give me your
she can
credit
all
card.
do
I'm gonna
that.
go shopping.
Yeah. But let's say we have multiple going on at the same time. She only has so many hours in the day. So we
Sure.
also have a few design firms that we partner with and are familiar with short-term rentals and specialize in that area as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you help get out the listing out to VRBO and Airbnb? Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we'll create the listing. We have a direct booking website, which guests can come directly to enclaves.us and book direct. But most people are using one of those third-party channels like Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com. So we are on all of those.
Okay.
So yeah, when we're also on some smaller ones as well. We want to have as much reach to reach as many possible guests. There's even some platforms that specialize in those monthly midterm rentals.
Talk about that. I'm actually kind of curious about the monthly term.
Yeah, so
Midterm. What do you?
we call them midterm rentals.
Okay.
Some people call them furnished monthly rentals. But here in Seattle, with so many companies and businesses headquartered, there's a lot of people moving here, and they, as part of their compensation, will usually get money for a place to stay for a few months while they decide where they want to live and buy a home or rent a home long term. They need a place to stay. So it's very popular. There's also something called Furnished Finders, which is where traveling nurses who come for 13 weeks. So those types of travelers or guests that need a place to stay for longer than 30 nights, but less than a 6-month lease.
Sure.
That's what we call midterm rentals. And there's different platforms that specialize just in that we integrate directly with and that we're able to help, especially fill those off-season months. So here in Seattle, for the vacationers, you might imagine, summer, peak season, we can fill those
Everything,
short-term rentals. But the slower winter months, it's really wonderful to fill some of that with
Vacation,
a 1 or 2 or 3 month stay.
Oh my gosh, and holidays, right? Like coming to spend time with family.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Let's say you have a client who has this vacant property. Let's just say it's in a perfect location. It creates a perfect short-term rental. But the client is like, oh, well, can you tell me what are the benefits of a long-term versus short-term? How am I going to maximize on the profit?
Yes.
What would you say?
Yes. Good question. So if it all comes down, if it is purely investment, it's going to be very, very close here in Seattle, the way that the numbers pencil out. But there's so many different reasons to consider short-term versus long-term, other than just the revenue side of things, the income. One is the flexibility. So if you're doing short-term rentals, you have the ability to pivot to another option anytime you want. One, you could use the property, right?
True.
If you have a place that maybe your family comes twice a year to stay, awesome. You can use it whenever you want, your friends and family, it's your property to still use. So there's that flexibility. Or if something happens and you decide, I don't want to do short-term rentals, you're not locked into a contract. So you can pivot to long-term rentals or midterm. So I would say the number one benefit, other than monetarily, is of short-term rentals is flexibility of using the property or changing. Second, property care. It's a big one. So actually one of the misconceptions of vacation rentals, short-term rentals is, with so many people in and out, isn't that going to be a lot of wear and tear on my property? And I can see why people think that, but it's actually the opposite. Because when you have someone, when there's guests coming in, we are in there cleaning between every single guest, making sure that property is immaculate in perfect condition. So that's every week, if not every 3 days. Whereas with a long-term rental, you might have a tenant in there for 6 months, a year. You don't set foot in it. You have no idea what they're doing, how they're treating it. Whereas the short-term rental guests, they actually do feel more like a guest. So the care overall of the property is much better with a short-term rental. So that's another thing to consider. Here in Washington, you don't have to deal with the landlord-tenant laws, which for some people can be a headache. With short-term rentals, you don't have to do that because they're staying longer. Or I'm sorry, they're staying shorter periods of time. But then on the revenue side, to kind of go back and answer your question, short-term rentals can make more revenue, but there's also higher costs with management fees. So usually, again, it kind of pencils out. It depends on the market, though. Every year is a little bit different depending on who's traveling, what's going on in the world. So with short-term rentals, you can make more money. Let's say you're going to make $6,000 in the month, whereas with long-term rent, maybe you're only going to get $4,000.
Totally.
However, the costs are higher. So a lot of times it does pencil out. But if it's a busy travel season, maybe we're going to get $7,000 this year because we can really push the rates. There's an extra $1,000 that you wouldn't have got. So a little bit more risk, but can definitely have more reward. So if owners need that consistent revenue that they know exactly how much it's going to be month to month, then long-term is a good solution. But if they have the ability to say, hey, you know what? If we do short-term rentals, I might be able to make $10,000 a month in the summer, even though I know I'm only going to make $3,000 in the winter. It's still going to, at the year's end, you could make more.
Okay. I bet your experience in hospitality, your previous hospitality, you know who's coming to town, any major sporting events,
Oh, yeah.
We can talk about the World Cup, right? And how that can benefit an owner if they are thinking of short-term rentals and, our city's going to be packed.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So we have revenue management. We have people. We have algorithms where we're looking at what's going on in the city. So those big events like the Taylor Swift concert, for example,
that's true.
The rates were literally off the charts. But we are able to look at that and price our units, our properties accordingly and take advantage of that. Whereas with long-term rentals, you don't even have that opportunity. There's things like golf tournaments, there's Seafair. Speaking of the Taylor Swift concert, our owners that night probably made the same that they would have made in a whole month in 3 nights.
Oh my God. Lucky owners. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, if you find a property in the perfect area that can serve, all these events that are coming into the city, I think you can max out.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like Capitol Hill, Queen Anne, we are probably our most successful locations downtown, just with everything that they're close to. But anything near the U District, we have some really successful properties in Green Lake. There's demand for different areas for everything, which is great.
Oh my gosh. So how does someone get started in doing a short-term rental? I mean, what are some of the things they need to prepare themselves?
I think... Well, let me ask you this. Do you mean before they buy it or they already have the property?
They already bought it.
Okay.
And then they're considering to do, what do I do? What's the next step?
Yeah. I mean, first, I would just say talk to me or someone within the industry because we have a lot of that knowledge.
They're going to call you.
And can save them that time. Because I was going to first say educate yourself. The most important thing in this, they may have already bought the property, but for anyone that hasn't bought it already, the most important thing to first look at is compliance because there are regulations in every jurisdiction, whether it's a city, a county, a state.
And you would know those?
I know them,
Okay,
or I can help at least research them if it's an
course.
area outside of Washington. But I'm happy to do that because I know what to look for. But you want to just make sure that you can legally operate a short-term rental, first and foremost, right? Because you don't want to get started and then have to cease and desist or whatnot. So, do your diligence and research, making sure it's allowed to be there. And then after that, again, talk to someone in the management and see how they need to furnish it, what amenities they might have. We might go in and say, oh gosh, this is great, but have you ever thought about adding air conditioning? Because that's an amenity that a lot of guests search for and not that many people in Seattle have, so you can charge a premium for it. We can talk about things. Do you want to allow pets? That's a whole nother conversation that we can do. So just thinking of some of those different amenities that they can add on to their home.
What are some of the most popular and most sought after amenities that people are looking in Seattle specifically?
In Seattle, I would say pet friendly is probably number one. And there are more people searching than there are actual properties. So it is a very big thing to offer. Air conditioning is big here. There's not very many, but people will search for hot tubs. They might want that. And so that can be a big one. And then there's family-friendly things. As a mom, I know I'm looking, do they have a pack and play or a travel crib there so I don't have to bring mine on the plane? Things like that.
Very cool. Maybe tell us about some very common misconception in the property management short-term rental world.
Sure. Okay, there's a few that come to mind. One that I hear is, they're all party houses on Airbnb, right? I've heard horror stories of homes getting damaged. Yes, that's happened. Most of that's in the past, though. Short-term rentals have come so far in the last 10 years. It was kind of the wild, wild west before that, where everyone was managing it themselves. There were no regulations. You could put anything and everything on Airbnb. You could pop a tent up in your backyard and put it on Airbnb and put whatever.
I'm going to charge you $100 a night for that one.
Put whatever pictures you want online, and people would show up, and it's something different. There has been so much progression now that sites like Airbnb have their own rules and regulations and verification tools. And then with professional property management, you avoid all that. We're doing things like guest ID verification and screening.
Wow.
So it's come so far. So when you hear stories like that, that's so few and far between now. So
more compliance now.
Yes.
More
and there's
regulation.
Also insurance that protects you from that now. There's specific damage waivers and rental liability insurance for short-term rentals that covers. If there is a party at your home, we're going to go in and make sure everything is repaired, replaced, no cost to you, and take that down. So I would say that they're all party houses is a huge misconception. They're really not. That's in the past. Another one is that and I spoke to this a little bit earlier, but that they are for vacations only. There are so many people looking for short-term stays. And I alluded to that with, people coming to visit family, people coming for medical treatment, they're remodeling their house. Maybe they just sold their house but aren't moving for 2 weeks.
People look for that for sure.
Yes. So we have so many different types of guests coming for different reasons. Let's see. Another one that I hear a lot is that short-term rentals are leading to housing shortages in cities. And there's a lot of research that's going on, and not to say that it might not have some factor, but in reality, it's actually allowing so many people to be able to afford these properties in the first place, to be able to have some rental income coming in so they can actually afford to buy a home and get some rental income. So
that is very true.
There's that positive.
How about some horror stories? Do you have any?
Do I have any? This is with a previous company, not many, 4 or 5 years ago.
That's many.
And beautiful home. I walked up and was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Had a pool and hadn't met the owners in person or whatnot. And we go in, we look at the downstairs. Everything looks great. We go upstairs to the bedrooms. I walk in and let's just say it looks like it was the set of 50 Shades of Grey.
No way! Are you kidding me? I wanted to see your reaction.
I didn't know what to say. I thought, and they kind of immediately started to try like, oh, sorry, we didn't clean up, put stuff away.
Oh
And
my
I just like, okay, let's see the next bedroom. I, just moved on, but
Oh my God.
that
is crazy.
startled
Like,
me.
did you take on that property?
Ultimately, we would have been willing to.
If they didn't.
We would have been willing to. We'd have to definitely redesign that bedroom. But ultimately, we found out that city that it was in wouldn't allow short-term rentals.
Okay.
It was years ago, kind of before some of the mainstream regulations came out. And so we did some digging and it wasn't going to allow it. So no.
Oh my gosh. So
that is not an amenity that's searched for that I know of.
You never know.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, do you know which city in immediate Puget Sound region do not allow short-term rentals?
Yes.
Right now, at least.
Right now, the biggest one is Bellevue.
Okay.
They have some that are allowed in multifamily units only, but only in certain zones. And even with that, you need a conditional use permit. So I could go on and on about this and not bore you, but it's very, very, very difficult, if not impossible, to do a true full home, single family short-term rental in Bellevue. But, Medina is, people consider it part of Bellevue. It has no restrictions whatsoever, so that's allowed there. Kirkland has some restrictions as well. It's allowed, but you can only rent it 125 days out of the year, and the rest must be owner-occupied. So there's a lot of that. Each is so different. There's nuances where it's not just whether it's allowed or not, but what they require that makes it operational or not.
Wow. I mean, I remember in like 2020 how much Airbnb and all the short-term rental has become so popular. It was just like everywhere, no restrictions. And then now I actually had a client who lives in California and they want to own a place here. They wanted to start in Kirkland. And what their budget allowed was only a condo. And I said, I am so sorry. You cannot have a short-term rental in the city of Kirkland. Now, you have to look for a single-family home with, no attached neighbors or anything like that for you to even consider, because they wanted to rent it out short-term.
Right.
And then live, come out here once in a while.
Right.
And that was just impossible. Like, for what you want, I'm so sorry. That's just not like, I had to steer him to like, okay, maybe consider maybe Edmonds, you've got the same aesthetic and, so.
Right. Yeah. And that's why it's so great for your clients to have resources like yourself and Enclaves and property management where we can work together and help them find
that
those,
is exactly what I
You
mean,
and I can talk, okay, what are your clients' goals? And then I can say, okay, so Kirkland's out, but have we, and like you said, Edmonds or whatnot, we can talk about other options or ways around it. You can help them find and buy their property.
That's the goal.
Yep. And then we can help them get it ready and actually rent it.
That's awesome. I mean, that would be ideal, of course, right?
It's funny that you say about my hotel experience because, yes, I used to work in luxury hotels in Seattle. Well, here at Enclaves, we think of each of our properties as its own mini hotel. So we use the revenue management, some of the similar revenue management strategies that we used in my old hotel world to maximize our occupancy with all those events that you were talking about.
Yeah, I think having that experience is amazing.
We also want to make sure each guest feels like they're, staying at a
mini hotel?
Yes, at a mini hotel, exactly. So we have an amazing coffee setup that we do. I mean, you're coming to Seattle.
I love it. We are coffee
you need to
lovers
be well
here,
caffeinated, So we have our own little branded bag of whole beans that we leave with a coffee grinder. We have an espresso machine with the pods, but we also have a French press for those guests that like that. So
they need to have an experience.
Exactly.
Pretend like you're in Starbucks Reserve. Here you go.
Exactly. Yes.
Love that. Are there any specific neighborhoods in Seattle, since you specialize in Seattle, that you recommend to have a short-term rental for someone?
Oh, for sure. Usually the closer you are to downtown, the better, right? A lot of people want to go downtown for various activities, but finding them in downtown is harder. There's a few condo buildings that do allow short-term rentals. So our top performing neighborhoods are Queen Anne. I mean, Lower Queen Anne could not be better, right? You're right by Climate Pledge. You're right by Seattle Center, the Space Needle, so many restaurants. But Upper Queen Anne, you have the quintessential view of Seattle and the skyline. So definitely Queen Anne. And with that, East Lake, Capitol Hill is huge because it's so walkable. There's the hospitals, the universities, and so many visitors drawn for those. I would say those are our top two. In West Seattle, we do have some success on Alki. We have wonderful properties there. One thing to watch out for is another regulation of the Shoreline Code is that in the city of Seattle, you can't have a short-term rental on waterfront property.
That is such a bummer.
It's such a bummer, I know, right? Because you'd want to, but we have some that right across still have the water view, and Alki has that vacation feel, right? Okay. So we definitely have some success there. So. But yeah, any of those little neighborhoods that have that that coffee shop, that restaurant, those are all, Ballard, Fremont, Wallingford, Green Lake. We have successful properties in all of those,
and they rent very well.
They do.
Okay. And are they single family or townhomes? I'm sure no condos, but what is the most?
Most of them are townhomes or single family. We do have a few that are apartments, basically a duplex, and we rent one and the owner lives in the other or rents out the other one long term.
Okay. What about size? What is a perfect spot for size?
Yes, great question. 2 and 3 bedroom are really the sweet spots for short-term rentals, mostly because 1 bedrooms, while they still can do well, there's a lot of travelers looking for a 1 bedroom. You're also competing against the hotels there. So there's a lot of supply. They still do well, but what we really love are those 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Okay. Very good info.
Yeah.
What about like size as far as square footage goes?
That's less important because, again, when you're, especially for the vacationers, the short-term stay, they're out and about. They're doing a lot of things. They want a place to sleep. They want to be comfortable. They want a kitchen to cook in. That's a lot of the times the reason they booked a short-term rental instead of a hotel. The outside is actually fairly important. We love the ones I mentioned, rooftop decks earlier. Those are great. But if they have an outdoor patio, a place where they can sit outside and enjoy the view if they have one, or just have their morning coffee, outside. That's really important. So it doesn't have to be large. I would say, the 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom townhome or the 1,500 to 1,800 square foot 3-bedroom. Perfect.
And modern is a very common and
modern
very
is
liked.
Common for sure in the townhomes, but we also have some amazing craftsman style properties in Queen Anne, Fremont that have that charm, but they've been updated. Yeah. They've been painted. Maybe they're light and bright with really cool design furniture that pops and catches the eye, but it still has the curved archways and the built-ins and all that charm.
People love that
these days. Yes. I just want to be here as a resource for you and your clients or anyone that either has an investment property, a vacation home, or is thinking about getting one. I am here to answer those questions, be your go-to, and help you out.
No, I love it. And I'm already here. My wheels are turning. Like, I have so many people that I can send your way and have them, use you as a resource because this is amazing. I mean, I wouldn't know that information, but you are the expert. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can work together very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.